Black Mamba don't like that.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Coming to you live from New York, it's the Great PODBINO.
For our dozens.
And dozens.
Electric juice on there. And dozens of fans. Listeners, lovers of the Mambino, this is the Great PODBINO.
Because I'm excited about the topic.
I couldn't be less excited.
I'm excited that you're not excited.
We talked about the Knicks yesterday. We had a really nice near hour-long Knicks podcast. And today,
Couldn't help myself.
Bockers.
Today we're going to do a Lakers pod. So
A team on the outside looking in.
Let's get this crap over with, guys.
That's
Just
so
ask your
joyfully.
stupid questions, and I'm willing to answer them. I've got a glass of whiskey, neat. I'm ready to go.
Poor Mambino. KOBEsh himself had to pour himself homemade whiskey before this pod started. That is how desperate it is in La La Land.
This is a lot of.
I think
liquor,
MDA
which I
drinks
will be
before
drinking.
games.
Let's just I don't even think it really needed to be a question here. Just saying the words Dwight Howard and then just letting you go.
Well, let's put it this way. I am not entirely excited about. Let's see, what are we averaging here? I'm not fired up about 17 and 12 with 50% free throw shooting and 3 turnovers a game.
Lowest rebound rate since his rookie year.
I'm not excited about that. That does not fire me up. What fires me up even less is not so much what Dwight's numbers are, because I didn't think they would be that different from there, is that the numbers are hollow because the record is 15 and 19, soon to be 20. We're recording this actually in the midst of the Spurs game.
Sacre!
Which we are. The Lakers are absolutely destined to lose.
Sacre just missed about a 9-foot jumper. It was awesome.
Miz and I have planned to buy a Sacre jersey, frame it, and give it to KOBEsh.
Hang it in our studio, maybe.
Or maybe just hang up here, just write it up against this wall.
I'm really fired
The
up.
great Sacre,
about this.
is it a magician, a cab driver, or the starting center for your Los Angeles Lakers?
This is real. This is
Such a
real.
history of great centers coming through
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
this is really
Kareem,
Abdul-Jabbar.
Wilt, Shaq, Howard,
Sacre.
You know what's unfair about this is that it's usually not 2-on-1 when I'm just reaming you guys about the Knicks. So that's unfair.
KOBEsh, I got a question for you. Or
Yeah,
rather,
let's
a
do
statement.
it. I got my drink on. I feel great.
Fact or fiction? The Lakers will make the playoffs in 2012-2013.
Is there another playoffs when another season starts?
In this season.
Oh,
playoffs.
this season. Oh, it's like
the
this
playoffs
season
of
we're in right now.
losers.
Well, there's an NIT tournament, right? The Lakers can make the other. Is there not another?
They might,
yeah, it's
they
called a lottery.
might not be
Oh.
eligible.
And I think the Phoenix Suns are eligible for their place in that lottery.
Well,
That's
okay.
also a good question. Wait. The picks that the Lakers sent the Suns for Steve Nash, are those lottery protected?
No.
Oh.
So that's cool.
Oh,
Well,
boy, do I
okay.
hope.
let's put it this way.
Phoenix Suns get the balls popping.
Let's put it this way. The Lakers are 15 and 9. So 34 games gone. It's soon to be 35.
15 and 9? 15
You're
and 19.
15 and 19 and soon to be 15 and 20.
wish they were 15.
Wishful
So you-
thinking over
yeah,
here.
you have
Jesus.
47 games left in the season. 47 games. According to my calculations, I did this on a Silver Screen article the other day. According to my calculations, the Lakers have to win roughly 45 games. So they have to go 30 and 15 from here on out. 30 and 15. That's a lot of wins.
That's
To
tough.
get the 8 seed. Now, 45 wins isn't necessarily what you need. That's prorated from what the Jazz have, but that's roughly what I'd expect from the Western Conference. You're going to have a winning record. You're going to have to be a few games over 500. I expect that. That being said, can the Lakers win 30 more games? I mean, can they? Of course they can. Because
Right.
because this record is completely not inexplicable, but if there's not a person alive that realistically watches the NBA that could tell me that in their wildest dreams, this could have happened. 15 and 9, 4 games under 500.
15 and 19.
15 and
I think
19,
you're
excuse me.
fully slipping into hoping that
Yeah.
you're going to wake up.
No,
and
I'm
it's
just
15
I'm
and
just
9.
I'm on usual Lakers mode.
15 and 9.
15 and 9, we're great. 15 and 19. There's no person alive that could. I mean, the truth is that everything bad that could have possibly happened, aside from Kobe getting hurt, has happened. That's just
that was real wood. So that's pretty much just jinx Kobe getting hurt.
Thanks, guy. I really appreciate that. I think they can do it. So I will say fiction, because I still believe they're going to make the playoffs. I want to concentrate for a minute on how ridiculous it is that we're having this conversation. Because the Lakers are not, if you look at them, they're not bad. All of the things that people complain about, people were like, oh, the bench isn't going to hold up. The bench is fine. Jody Meeks is playing good.
Isn't
well
the bench
enough.
fine?
Jordan Hill's playing well enough. It's like all of their guys are, I wouldn't say they're any worse or better than the average bench in the league. They're doing what they should do. Jody Meeks is hitting threes. Jordan Hill is rebounding, providing energy. The backup point guards are doing a reasonable enough job, and they're hitting their shots, which is important. Chris Duhon is hitting threes. Steve Blake will come back and he'll be serviceable.
You're comparing a bench to the average bench when shouldn't you be comparing the bench to a championship contender?
Sure. But at the same time, we're not talking about a championship contender anymore. We're talking about, at the very least...
Oh, right, that's right.
At the very least, we're talking about a team that everybody thought would... At worst case scenario, everybody thought this team would win 50 games, right? Worst case scenario.
And it was... Everyone knew it would be a top-heavy team.
Right.
That they had five really good
But
starters.
if you look at... Okay, for example, let's look at this through the prism of things that have happened. If you look at the Miami Heat last year, going in the playoffs, nobody would say they had a great bench.
Right.
We were looking at Shane
they were
Battier,
getting
Mike
production
Miller,
out of their
Norris
best
Cole.
players.
Exactly. So the problem isn't so much the personnel, because I think the bench is good enough to win a championship, honestly. And I think obviously the starters are good enough to win a championship. Meta World Peace has been lost in all of this. Is that Meta World Peace has been
great,
unbelievable. Like
what did the real CDP said something like, "Your eyes aren't open if you don't think Meta World Peace is an all-star." He had some great.
Okay, my eyes are closed.
he was smoking.
Sorry,
that
CDP.
Argentine ganja down there, I think. I mean, the truth is that getting back to the point is we're talking about Dwight Howard, right? He's not that good right now. I mean, the guy is a physical specimen who, as Stu Lance often says, gets his juice and he makes his bones not on being the best guy that can make the first jump. Like he's not necessarily that much more athletic than all the other players in the league in terms of getting the rim. There's a bunch of guys that can jump over the rim. It's that he used to do the same thing 5 times. So, for example, let's say Eric Bledsoe or somebody can jump as high as Dwight Howard. On that 5th jump, is Eric Bledsoe jumping high as Dwight Howard? I don't think so, because Eric Bledsoe is 6 feet tall and Dwight Howard's 6'10". Dwight Howard was always great because he was better than everybody else on the 6th jump, or on the 6th turnaround, or on the 6th block. He's not that anymore. He's still great on the first jump, and he's still pretty good on the second, but the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, we're not talking about the same guy
I don't even think he's making that 3rd and 4th
exactly.
Yeah,
jump.
he's pretty slow.
I mean, we're talking about very
kinda
basic
hobbles.
things here. I mean, the guy's getting stripped on balls going up. He doesn't even have tactile strength. He can't even hold on the ball. I mean, he's never had post moves, but now that he's not stronger than everybody else, he can't just rip through and still make a lay-in, and it doesn't even really matter if he doesn't score the and one because he made those 2 to begin with. He just isn't as athletic. Now, is that because of the back surgery? Is it because he lost it in the back surgery and never get it back?
I'm sure it has a lot to do with the back surgery.
Yeah,
I mean,
think
it obviously
it's
does,
gotta
but
be.
to say a lot of people are saying, "Oh, will they ever get it back?" Let's cool it with that. The guy's 27 years old. It's not like
I
he's
think a lot of it has to do
Amari,
with expectation. I mean, coming from the Knicks standpoint. Oh, that's right. We're going to talk about the Knicks for a second. The reason why we're okay with it right now is because our expectations were so low for so long. You'd have Dwight come in as part of this big four, and even though it was obvious to everyone that he'd be coming off this back surgery. I mean, you can even go back to that press conference. He was like, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. And so every fan in LA is looking at the Lakers as Dwight being healthy from day one, because there was no reason to think that the expectations should be lower. So all of a sudden you see Dwight making that, that first attempt at a fast twitch athletic move. It's not there, and then we're gonna find people to play the blame game, which has been going on all season for them.
Right, and to pin this on him is really unfair, because Steve Nash missed over 20 games, and you have the backup point guard, which is Steve Blake, missing games, and in the last week, the Lakers lost their entire front court rotation. Excuse me, they lost all of their big men in the same game. Like, Mike D'Antoni was playing 3 big men. He was playing Pau Gasol, he was playing Dwight Howard, and he was playing
First time
Jordan Hill.
ever.
First time ever is obviously not true.
And that patented 7-man rotation for MDA.
But you lose any team that loses their big man rotation is going to be worse. Is going to get blown out by the Rockets. Is going to get 100+ points scored on by the Spurs with 7 minutes left to go in the fourth.
Right.
Like,
but with that rotation, you were under 500.
That's true. But you also have to look at the fact is that I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. Everything that could possibly have gone wrong has gone wrong.
Okay, so now that you say that,
and the Clippers are good.
Ooh, that might be the worst part.
We'll get back to that. I got a rant.
Out of all the disappointments, what has been the biggest disappointment in the Lakers season?
The biggest disappointment this season has been that the front office could have seen
still
all
employs
of this
Jim Buss.
They're not. They're employed. They're employed by Jim Buss. Let's get that straight.
Even worse.
Yeah, he's not an employee. He is their employer. The worst part is that all of these moves, some of it is bad luck. I mean, some of it is Steve Nash got hit in the exact wrong area on his leg, and Damian Lillard's knees are made out of adamantium. I mean, that's bad luck. I mean, Dwight Howard gets a torn labrum in his shoulder. I mean, that's a freak injury. Somebody comes down in your shoulder. I mean,
David Stern overrules the trade to get Chris Paul.
That's a
bad
freak.
Luck.
That's a freak
That's
injury.
bad luck.
Right?
And what team does Chris Paul play for?
There's no reason to rub this in, guys.
All right, so biggest non-luck disappointment.
Biggest non-luck disappointment is the front office making a terrible decision, which is hiring a bad coach, and then
which one?
Mike Brown or Mike D'Antoni?
In my opinion, then hiring another coach who I actually don't think either of them are bad coaches. I just think they're both bad coaches for this team. And that's on the front office, because nobody can tell me that this team isn't talented. Nobody can tell me that these pieces can't work given the proper system. Now, you look at this team and you have Mike D'Antoni, and I said it from the minute he was hired, is that, yeah, you know what, that's great. This team can run, but this team cannot run back. And
This team can run, but they can't.
they can run, but they can't. Mike
why
D'Antoni's
do they-
teams were the Suns team, his Phoenix teams were always
Thoroughbreds.
The
thoroughbreds.
Lakers play the second fastest pace in the NBA.
And they have the slowest guys in the league.
and oldest guys.
And I don't understand why the front office, offensively, the Lakers are fine. I think they have like the 6th most efficient, I believe. Let's look at.
They would have
this.
been fine on offense with any coach.
Yeah, they're 6th
Offensive
offensively.
efficiency. I mean, they're
well,
7th on offense, and they're
Mike
3rd
Brown,
in pace. But at the same time, it's like this team. The biggest knock, and everybody will tell you that watches the Lakers on a regular basis, is this team can't play any transition defense.
Right.
Which is the exact same thing I said the moment this happened. The reason why those Suns teams were good is because they had Sean Marion, who was like 28 years old. Amari was 24. Raja Bell was 20-something. Like, they had all these young studs who were willing to run their asses all around the court and get back on transition. And it's not a matter of trying. What a lot of people misunderstand is that the Lakers are playing hard enough, which is true in some regards. But in other regards, can you ask Antoine Jameson to rotate around the perimeter harder? No, you can't. Can you ask Meta World Peace to move better laterally? No, you can't, because he's 33 years old. Can you ask Kobe Bryant to score 30 points a night and to also guard the other team's best player? No, you can't, because he isn't LeBron James and he's not 27 years old. The point is that you're asking these guys to do things that they physically can't do. This is not about effort most of the time. Sometimes it is. But even if they played with 100% effort all the time, it doesn't fit the system. They need to play a slow-down offense. They need to do something like the Knicks are doing, which is a slow-down offense that hits every single three, makes patient decisions, and is willing to wait and make the right move and be smart. This team needs to have a coach like that. It needs to have a system like that. And right now, that's just not the case. And I'm not saying that Mike D'Antoni is a bad coach, because I don't think he's a bad coach. He'd be, if he was coaching the Houston Rockets right now, I think they'd be scoring 150 points a night. But the lack of prescience from the front office to say this isn't going to work with Mike Brown, and then again with Mike D'Antoni, is a complete failure on their part.
Now, why do you think, if Phil Jackson expressed interest in the team, and they were engaging him in a contract, and he was apparently upset, which leads me to believe that there was substantial talks between the two, why did they not hire Phil Jackson?
Well, I think the proof is kind of in the things that have happened lately. And
is it a personal thing? Is it Genie Bus?
No. Here's what's misunderstood is that Jim, everybody's like, well, yeah, if some guy was boning your sister, you probably wouldn't like him that much either. Jim and Jeannie don't really like each other.
Right.
That's a fact.
And
they're not
like
close.
Phil had a sort of a falling out with them. Remember when Phil left last time? They fired all those guys who were Phil's guys.
Phil's kind of an arrogant guy, and people around the league just don't like him.
So it's an ego thing from the Buses when they hired him, when they engaged with Jackson and said, you know what?
Well, I think
screw Jackson. We're gonna hire D'Antoni, and Jackson can shove it up.
It's an ego thing in so much as when people ask you if you're any coach in the league and you're out of work, and I mean basically Phil left the team, but it's not like anybody's really asking him to come back,
right,
except for Kobe, right? So when you're out of work in the league and the Lakers come to you with a starting five with 4 Hall of Famers and 3 MVPs and blah blah blah, all this stuff, any coach in the league would say, ooh, where do I sign? I don't care how much you're paying me. You could pay me nothing and I'll do this. The fact that he sat there and was like, let me sleep on this. Let me think if I really want to come back. If you're the Lakers and you have this team and there's coaches, like Mike D'Antoni couldn't even walk.
But you can add
and
up
he said, I'm going to coach this team.
Add up all the rings combined of all the other coaches and they don't equal Phil Jackson.
Right. If you're the Lakers, do you wait
Phil
on
Jackson
that?
But you can't get personal with the negotiation and say this guy.
Right. I agree with that to a certain extent. But on the flip, do you want somebody who is not ready to coach when you're already mid-season? You're already 1-4.
Mid-season 1-4.
1-4, but also after 0-7. 0-7 start, no training camp.
Practically mid-season.
It's practically mid-season.
They played
but
5 games.
1-4, an 0-8 preseason. You don't have any training camp, so you're teaching the triangle to a lot of guys who never played it before. It's a very complicated system. Do you want to bring all of that in as well as, say, bringing a guy who is really lukewarm to coaching probably the most talented team he's ever had in his career? All respect to Michael Jordan.
Team. A hobbled Dwight, a broken leg Steve Nash. You putting them over the
it's all on paper. Michael Jordan was 34 years old in that 98.
What about 90, 91, 92?
I think those are really talented teams, but
MJ in his prime, they would have eaten these guys.
I'm
lunch, dude.
Oh, of course they would have. But of course they would have because
throws.
The proof is there. But we're not talking about healthy players, and nobody could have predicted.
But then why sign? So if you're the Lakers and you say we're going to engage Phil Jackson, he has 12 rings or however many rings, and we think he is best suited to make this work. Okay, he's kind of lukewarm on it. We have an old ass team that plays good offense already. Why do you hire the gentleman thief?
That's a great question. I think that the demands of the marketplace, which is Los Angeles, which you guys can understand this, being Yankees fans, being Knicks fans, being Jets, Giants fans, whatever.
Being BC
Giants
basketball fans.
Yeah, being BC basketball.
Garland!
I think what you can understand is that the fan base wasn't going to be happy with a Nate McMillan, with a Brian Shaw. Even as beloved as Brian Shaw is, he's never been a head coach before. They weren't going to be satisfied with anybody that hasn't won before. And I know, obviously, your experiences with Mike D'Antoni have been soured, But
What?
the guy has won 60 games like 5 times.
But true. But with a team like you were saying that just doesn't fit. This is an old team that is good offensively that needs to slow it down.
Look,
control the pace, and you hire guys.
I'm not defending
Is
them.
Mike
push the
D'Antoni
tempo.
going to be the coach on day 1 next year?
Fact or fiction?
That's a fact.
Wow.
Well, they're paying.
Said it with
I
a
mean,
straight face.
It's a
Yeah.
straight face, no question.
Fingers
I
were
mean,
not crossed.
I think he signed like a 3-4 year,
Like that matters.
$16 million contract.
Okay.
You know what the
It's a
good
lot
thing
of
I
money.
like
It's
about
a lot
it
of money.
is
That's
that
$14 million on top of the 14 they owe Mike Brown for doing nothing.
True.
I mean, that's $28 million. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're.
It's like a year of.
Yeah. I don't
okay,
care if you're Mikhail
Fox money.
Prokhorov. You don't.
now,
yeah.
if Mike D'Antoni goes 1-4 in the first 5 games, do the Lakers fire him?
I mean, there's so many things that go into next season. I mean, I could see the team kind of basically being. I mean, they're not going to be favored to win anything next year, no matter who they get. So, at the same time,
That
you can
sounds
kind of.
so good.
You know, it's just like you can't. It's so hard to say because it's just next season, you know, and it's just like you just can't. I really can't say because there's just too many variables. But I think there's no question that he's a coach. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. Truthfully, it's hard to judge him even this year. You're talking about a Dwight at 70%, which is generous. You're talking about Steve Nash, who hasn't, played. I know that this is hard to believe, but Steve Nash has played less than 2 weeks of this season. And you're talking about a bunch of other guys, like a bunch of role players that have been hurt the whole year. Jordan Hill's been hurt. Steve Blake's been hurt. I mean, I know they're not great players, but you want to build continuity on any roster. I mean, let's look at Oklahoma. How many injuries have they had this season? I know they had the massive overturn of Harden, but Kevin Martin has fit in flawlessly.
Yeah.
How many injuries have they had? How many injuries has San Antonio had?
Well, that's a risk.
How many
for
injuries,
an old
you know, like-
team.
How many injuries does a young team get?
The Knicks
versus
have had
an old
injuries.
team?
Exactly.
They're weathering the storm with their depth.
The Knicks have continuity, and the Knicks have a system that fits their best player. The Lakers don't have a system that fits any of their players.
See, that's the thing is I don't think
So
the
the Lakers don't have a
know-
system that fits any of their players. What's
other
their,
than
what's
Steve
their
Nash.
coach's
No,
name?
This system fits Steve Nash.
I'm just the system fits.
Mike
Okay,
D'Antoni.
this
This is Nash's
this,
system.
yeah. This is Nash's system.
See,
so
I don't
I'm
think
sorry,
the Lakers know
yeah.
who their best player is.
Yeah.
I think Kobe right now, productivity wise, he's going off in the Spurs game. This is a throwback Kobe year. He's playing super good basketball. But the Lakers have to think, well, we have to sort of orient this around Dwight because he's going to be a free agent after this year. He's going to fly out to Dallas and get Shark Tanked by Cuban.
Or maybe not. Maybe there's a taping of Shark Tank that weekend, and maybe
I think Cuban will show up to this one. And I think other teams that have cap room will give him the whole sort of, here's our.
Well, should we just
LeBron,
do this?
here's
Should we do
Here's our
this?
PowerPoint
pitch.
presentation.
Here's
Yeah.
our
Should we?
pitch
Should we? Are
and-
we gonna do this Dwight Howard thing right now? Because
But
totally
I
willing
think
to do this.
I think the Lakers haven't known who to build a team around, and so they have Kobe on one hand, who fits in the mellow mold of, and Dwight really fits within that structure as a guy who protects the rim, gets a ton of rebounds, and you don't ask him to do much else. But then they're like, well, we already have Nash, and we need to sort of placate Dwight and make him feel like, we have him in mind. So we're going to run a pick and roll heavy offense, and we're going to run a system that is going to get Dwight a lot of easy looks and play up tempo because once he's healthy.
But isn't that kind of how, if you have a guy like Dwight Howard, shouldn't you? I mean, I guess the answer is no because they're losing. But I mean, if you have a guy like Dwight Howard, shouldn't you be trying to get him easy looks?
True, but it's like it's them saying Dwight Howard is 70%. We are going to treat as our best player, even though Kobe 100%.
And
is
I
clearly
still,
our best
and here's
player.
the thing, I still believe that Dwight Howard is one of the top 5 best players in the league when he's healthy, and he's
Yeah.
obviously not.
Right.
He's not healthy. He's not in shape. Whatever it is.
Right, which
He's
is
not.
tough. Is
He's
Derrick
not
Rose in
him.
that?
I think you guys would both agree that he's not him.
No,
at this
I
point.
don't think so at all.
So
The eye test
I
doesn't back
love-
it up. The numbers
right.
don't back it up. He's not the normal.
you
Dwight
won't
Howard.
really find a
Shaq
a-
imitating
yeah,
Superman
right,
cape wearing.
Right. He'll never be that guy, but
buffoon.
he'll be.
He's
great.
still missing free throws.
He'll always miss free throws. You won't find a much bigger Pau Gasol defender than me. You won't find a bigger lover of Steve Nash. You won't find a bigger. Well, you will find bigger Kobe fans, but I love Kobe Bryant. But they're all 33 and up.
Right.
Dwight Howard is 27 years old.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't care if we go to the lottery. I don't care if we lose the next 45 games. All I
And
care
lose your
about,
pick.
and lose our pick. I don't give a crap. The only thing I care about is Dwight Howard signing with this team next year and doing whatever it takes to have him sign. Because
And the Clippers
you know
winning
what?
the title.
If Kobe's unhappy, that would ruin my life. I'll get back to that. I don't care if Kobe's unhappy. I don't care if Nash is unhappy. I don't care if Powell's unhappy. I don't care if anybody's unhappy. I care about if Dwight's unhappy. Because the truth is that this team...
He's the franchise.
He's the franchise. He's the franchise for the next 6 years, regardless of whether or not people like him or he's hitting his free throws or whatever. He's the best player on this team. He's going to be the best player on this team. Or he's not the best player on this team right now, but he'll be the best player on this team for years to come. And I think that people need to realize that at this point we're 15 and 20. We're
I don't know if that 20 is.
We're the Lakers. As we're recording this, the Lakers are down 5 points with 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go. But I'm fairly certain that the Spurs are going to hit this shot. So, steal by the Lakers.
Run!
Anyway,
Attaboy. Say Queensbridge, Blake.
Queensbridge. I think that we have to look at this like the Lakers.
Here we go!
Should we take a pause from this podcast?
Live.
Here we go!
Yeah. Pause
Live
this podcast?
potting. The Lakers versus Spurs.
Backdoor, I couldn't control my...
All right, so we're back at the PODBINO.
Bino
We
headquarters.
took a break to watch the final couple minutes of Lakers Spurs, and we're gonna tell you that because it's just depressing to continue on. That makes for better entertainment. That whiskey's going down a little bit easier now, or harder, easier. But we'll get back to what we started here.
I don't feel feelings anymore, so it's fine.
I mean, you can't really. We shouldn't really feel bad about this loss, right? Because
Here's the thing.
they could have lost this game at full strength.
This was a
the
game you
Spurs.
said you felt worse about any other game in the previous 15 years.
It's true.
And they almost sent it to OT.
The record's still 15 and 20.
15
I mean, the
and
point
20.
is, here's the point, is that everybody's like, oh, the Lakers played hard tonight. Lakers played hard in Houston. They stayed with them until the third quarter. Who cares? They're 15 and 20.
Yeah.
The time for moral victories is over. It was over last week. This team, I don't care if this team plays hard. I don't care if they look good tonight and they lose. It doesn't matter. They need to win games. They're in real danger of not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs. You're
Can't
real.
even win a game.
Talking about, really, seriously, this team is in real danger of not making the playoffs. I mean, as we said before, 30 and 15 is the baseline at this point.
Yeah.
So
That's assuming that 45 wins gets you in.
assuming, and it could be
So
it could be a
46,
2000
could be
2007
47.
situation where the 47 win Warriors didn't even make it. So I'm thinking right now, I mean, you're looking at this team, everything that's gone wrong, 2 bad coaching hires. Nash breaks his leg in the second game of the season.
Yeah.
Dwight has a torn labrum in his shoulder. Jordan Hill has a malady of injuries. Just a laundry list of
Succession
disabilities.
of them.
Steve Blake has a torn abdominal. Who gets a torn abdominal
Chris
muscle?
Duhon is still on your roster.
Chris Duhon is getting
Steve
major
Duhon
minutes.
is
Earl
shooting
Clark
us.
was
Is still an NBA
was
player.
playing down the stretch. All three
Earl
big
Clark
men.
took the pivotal shot
Yeah,
in the game.
Earl Clark took the last 2 pivotal
Things
shots in the game.
Are not going as
I mean,
designed.
everything has gone wrong. Everything that could have possibly gone wrong has gone wrong, and I don't think that you can really blame this on Dwight because he's hurt. But at the same time, would the Lakers not make that trade again? Of course they would. Andrew Bynum hasn't played a
Bynum is
game.
out too.
Yeah.
So it really was.
So you had to make that trade for Dwight. You have to make this trade for Steve Nash. And Kobe's playing arguably the best ball he's played since his MVP season.
I do think you can blame them for not hiring Phil Jackson. I think that was an ego move.
Sure.
And
at
there
the
should have
time, I
been-
said that D'Antoni was the next best hire. And I still think he might have been because the rest of the hires
Yeah,
weren't a
who
fit
else
for
you gonna
various
get?
reasons. Jerry Sloan didn't really want to coach again. I'm sure he probably would have thought about it, but then it's the same Phil Jackson scenario where it's an old guy who knows if he can control a team. He couldn't control a team.
If you go 1-4, start the season, I mean, you're probably thinking about getting a new coach for them in the off season. So why not just get a new coach for them then.
Because at the
get a
time,
bigger slate of coaches who are willing to
because
come
at the
up.
time you're not thinking the season is punted. There's
The
78
season is
games.
not punted at 1-4 though.
But that's what I'm saying is that you don't think it's punted. So if
But
you
they
don't
did.
think it
They
is,
did.
but they
With-
thought it
with
would
their
be
current-
with Mike Brown. But the truth is that maybe it wasn't. Maybe with the right hire, maybe with Phil Jackson, they wouldn't be. It's hard to say. Like maybe this team wouldn't be taken into the triangle. Maybe this team would still be making 20 turnovers a game. Now they've got it down to about 14 because people don't know where they're supposed to be in the triangle. I mean, Lamar Odom, who's granted not the smartest, guy that's played an NBA game, but at the same time, Lamar Odom played in the triangle for 7 years. He still didn't get it. It's not easy. It's really, really difficult.
Kobe and Powder got it, and I think
Right,
Nash
but
was
also
able to
would
figure
Nash
it out.
would Nash have gotten it? Maybe. I mean, he would have figured it out, but you're really not maximizing his potential. Would Dwight have gotten it? Maybe. Who knows? I just think that.
Well, I think once you make a coaching change at 1-4, you kind of have to curb the ceiling for
Right.
the team.
And I'm not saying that, and there's no evidence to say that you can't win with a coaching change in the season. I mean, the Lakers won, changing Riley in the middle of the season. The Heat won with changing to Riley again in the
Knicks
middle of the
went,
season.
18-6 last year with Woodson.
I mean, there's nothing to say that
Big
you.
noise in the playoffs,
God.
but they did.
Disgusting.
He was on the staff though.
I'm just saying you can win a title with the changing of the coach. It's happened before. It'll happen again.
Yeah.
But everything that's gone wrong has gone wrong, and I'm obviously not optimistic about this season in the least. But going forward, Ms., we were talking about this before the podcast, talking about Dwight Howard's situation next year. I mean, potential land. There's 3 potential landing spots, right? We're talking about 3 and 3 only: L.A., the Lakers, Dallas, and Atlanta. There's no other options. There's no other team
I
that's.
think Atlanta's an option.
Well, Atlanta's only an option if Chris Paul decides to go there and play with him. But at this point, they're arguably the best team in the league. So why would he leave the Clippers, right?
And he's
so it's
from
really
Atlanta, and they could offer him.
yeah, and
easy
him and
big
if somebody says to him, "Hey, we got Dwight Howard. If you come here, it'll be you, Dwight Howard, and Al Horford. It'll be you, Dwight Howard, and Josh Smith." And that's a pretty hard thing to turn down to play with 2 27-year-olds who are some of the finest athletes in the league. That's a hard thing for Chris Paul to turn down, even though he's playing with Blake Griffin. So that being said, I don't think that's a feasible option. I really think it's Dallas or LA. And at that point,
Dallas.
what emboldens me
Cubes.
to feel like Dwight is going to stay in LA is that Dwight had made a comment earlier this season saying, I know where I'm signing next year. And he said it with kind of a wry smile. And it's hard to say what Dwight's going to do or not do. He's not exactly
the guy who demanded
right.
a trade.
He's
and then
not
decided
exactly
not
the
to
smartest.
demand a trade,
He's not
and
exactly
then
the
demand a
most
trade
savvy
again.
guy. But at the same time, he's learned from his mistakes. He says very little about his free agency in the upcoming season now. Like it's almost never talked about because he won't answer questions about it.
Who's your source?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But who's asking him the questions?
Yeah.
Nobody's asking him the questions.
No, that was the Dwight quote when Stan Van Gundy threw him under the bus, and when he came out and he was going, "Who's your source?"
His
And
arm
Stan
around
was
him.
standing right next to him.
That was so.
Who's your
great.
source?
Yeah,
right
that
there,
that
Dwight.
was a bit awkward.
He's standing right next to you. He's got a little
But
mustache. Pudgy little
yeah, I
guy
just don't.
from
I don't think
Westchester.
that he's. I really don't think he's going anywhere. He's happy in LA. As bad as the Lakers look, doesn't Dallas look worse? I mean, thinking that the whole team, they have zero.
looks
Aside from
abysmal.
Dallas, aside from Dirk, who has 1 year left, there's really nothing on that team to suggest that he would go there over the Lakers. I mean, all things considered equal, you have Cuban or you have Jim Buss, which is obviously a Cuban.
Cuban wins.
Cuban wins, no question. But at the same time, it's the Lakers. You're in Hollywood. Dwight is such a ham. Like he loves being on the camera. He loves doing all these kind of media things. And it's L.A. Like who wouldn't love living in L.A. if you're a guy like Dwight?
We're talking about it from a logical standpoint, but then we're talking about Dwight Howard.
Right.
I mean, this is the guy who.
And I would say I'm not 100% sure, but I would put it at 70% he's going to sign with the Lakers. I would be pretty surprised if he decided to sign with Dallas. This could all change. I mean, maybe Dallas pulls off some, insane trade, and like I'm not saying this is on the docket at all, but let's say they trade for Rajon Rondo or something like that, and they already have Dirk, and then you have Dwight, and then you have two guys who can't shoot free throws and the best free throw shooter in the league. But it's a good team. I'm not saying it's out of the question, but I would be really surprised if he left the Lakers knowing Kobe is coming off the books in a year, Powell's coming off the books in a year, and the Lakers are going to have $40 million in cap room in a year.
I think also
and
the
Dwight's
Lakers,
going to be 29 years old.
The Lakers have a little bit of advantage in, obviously the money, but when teams were gunning for LeBron by clearing out space, they were seeing this very player before their eyes, that this is the guy we're going to get. And how many teams are really going to clear out cap space for a guy who really just can't play well right now?
Right. I think that's a really great point. It's like he's kind of like pricing himself out, so to speak, or pricing himself under. And I don't think he's going anywhere. He's the future of this team. He's going to be 28 years old when the season's 27 years old when the season starts next year. The guy's not going anywhere. The Lakers,
no
the Lakers,
he can stay in LA.
Yeah. Keep him out west.
It'll make it easier to hate the
Better
Lakers.
back doctors out there.
There are great back doctors.
Good
out there.
chiropractors out in LA.
As grim as things seem now, I'm not worried about the future. This team has always made good moves. They've always made smart moves, and regardless of whether and this season's coaching hires notwithstanding, they've always made the smart move. Getting Steve Nash, the freak injury aside, was a fantastic move. Kobe Bryant is 34 years old, and he's one of the top 5 players in the league.
They're gonna need some. They're not gonna need a bench next year, though.
Yeah, that's been a problem.
And you know what?
They're gonna have
they'll
to find somebody.
They constructed a good bench this year out of nothing.
Given their constraints, which is another.
Given their constraints, they constructed a bench that's better than.
I wouldn't say it's better than average.
I'd say it's at least.
I'd
say it's at least average, but
I would say it's
looks
average.
Bad by the fact that everybody's been overextended.
You guys got torched by Westbrook last year in the playoffs, right? The year before that, JJ Barea. You still have no real answer for quick point guards.
I actually disagree. I think we have Darius Morris, who's.
You think Morris is the? Well,
I don't think he's the answer, but
Westbrook.
Yeah, okay, JJ Barea torched us, and that was crappy. James Harden went off for 30 points last night. Big deal. Right? James Harden will score 30 points if Iman Shumpert was living in his pants. I don't care who you are. James, who's saying anything?
Pants.
If he literally took up a condo on
If he had a pants party.
If he had a pants party and Iman Shumpert was invited, it was a party of one. It just said to I.man Shumpert. It wouldn't matter.
KOBEsh, I got a fact or fiction for you.
Hit me. I'm drinking. Let's go.
October 30th, 2013, which will probably be the tip-off of next season. Pau Gasol is still a Los Angeles Laker, fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction.
This season was it.
You think he's gone? Do you think he gets dealt before the trade
he's a
deadline?
$20 million expiring contract.
He is.
I don't think they make any deals this season. Unless okay, that's not true. Unless this team loses, say there's 15 games until the trade deadline.
They're 5 games below 500 right now, right?
Yeah, let's say they're 5 games below 500.
So if
there's 15 games left. Let's say the Lakers lose the next 15 games. So there's 20 games under 500 by the deadline, which is not going to happen.
Right.
It's all joking aside, that's not happening. Thanks, Mags. One love. The Lakers are dealing anybody who's dealable. They're dealing Jody Meeks, or maybe not Meeks, but they're dealing Antoine Jameson.
Fact or fiction?
Dealing Pau Gasol for pennies on the dollar.
You're saying if they lose the next 20 games?
Yeah, because why not? Somebody's going to say, yeah, we can use Pau Gasol in the stretch run. I'm pretty sure we can use that guy.
Yeah, right.
He's one of the top 20 players in the world. I'm pretty sure we can use that guy. But I think this year was kind of it. Unless the Lakers make some miracle run and they do go 30-15 or they do go 35-10 or whatever insane record is possible.
So what record is possible then? What is the game 82?
Realistically,
what is the record going to be?
They go 42 and 40.
I think they can win. I think they can go 30-15 the rest of the way. I do think so.
Well,
because
they can. They can.
We're talking about realistically.
We're talking about what you think the Lakers'
If
record
you had
will
to
be.
bet the farm on them hitting a certain
I
number
think
of
that
wins,
they will win.
37 games. Would you feel comfortable betting $10,000 on them winning 39 games?
So they have to win 24 more games. So they'd have to go
However it
24 and 21.
24 and 23.
They have 45 games left. So 20,
Yeah, 24 and 21.
24 and 21. Yeah.
You feel good about that?
Yeah, I would bet
Feel
10.
really
I would
good
bet.
about
I would bet $10,000.
15 and 20 is 35 games plus 45 is only 80.
Okay, so 47 games.
Yeah,
So they have to go 24 and 23. Yeah, I would bet $10,000
Yeah.
on that. No question.
But that, like, not talking about possibilities, like that would.
I think that's going to happen.
That is
I mean,
that's your best.
this
bet.
is this is a 500 team. Like this is a
Right.
500 team.
Okay,
Even
so-
if I mean,
so-
we're talking about right now. Like we're talking about their record recently, right? Look at who they've lost to. in
No,
the past.
I know that they
Yeah.
can go 24 and 23. What will they go though? What will
I
they
think
go based on everything?
I don't know if Powell has a concussion. I don't know if he's going to miss a week.
Take it into account. Take it into account.
Well, I don't think they're as bad as they've looked because they've lost 5 out of their last 6, and they've lost to 4. I'm sorry, they've lost 6 out of the last 7, and they've lost all 6 losses are to playoff teams. They lost to the Clippers, the Sixers, the Nuggets twice, Houston, and San Antonio. It's not like they're losing to scrubs. Like they're losing to really good teams, right? Sixers exempt, but the Sixers are still a pretty good team, right? I think realistically they're going to win 42 games.
42 games. So, if you had to pick a number of wins, and if you got it wrong, Robert Sacre would eat your face. You would pick 42.
Basalt style would
He would
go to
basalt
town
you.
42
like
and
Mags
40.
went on that loaf of bread.
42 and 40.
I
think that's a reasonable.
think that's a
Pick.
reasonable
think
pick.
that's within the
But
realm of
what
possibility.
could they do? What could, like high low? Let's high low. High
Sure,
high.
I mean, I think the Knicks can make the finals, so I don't think they will, but I think they
Right.
can.
But we're talking about realm of possibility, and this is a 15 and 20 team, right? High 48 wins. Low 35 wins.
It's a bad low.
That's a bad low. That's
speaking-
12 and
speaking of
12 and 30
low,
something, right?
I think it's time for the Lakers rant
Ugh.
of the night to finish
Oh, God.
finish this thing off.
Let's. I mean, this could go in any different direction. What?
Has this? I mean, I thought this was just one big Lakers rant. It
This-
didn't-
I mean,
that's true.
yeah,
That's true.
PODBINO.
This
I mean,
is-
do you want like a pinpointed
when you're
like
15 and
Cuban
20
Missile Crisis like
yeah, when
type-
you're 15 and 20, the whole PODBINO is a Lakers rant.
Yeah, when you're 15 and 20 and everybody expects you to be the Western Conference favorite or co-favorite at the very least.
the Western Conference.
Well, at the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So it's not a Lakers rant. Can we have your opinion on anything about the other team that plays at Staples Center?
A Clippers rant.
The Sparks? Oh, the Clippers.
The Sparks.
The
Lisa
two-time
Leslie?
champion
Is
Sparks.
Lisa Leslie still playing?
Lisa Leslie is not playing. She decided to have kids. Her jersey is retired in Staples Center, which would, if it was just, there's actually another Sparks jersey retired. I don't know who it is, but I know Lisa Leslie's jersey is retired, which would make it at least one more jersey retired than any Clippers jersey is retired there. Actually, I had
They might
I
retire
did like
a
a
jersey
I did
after
like
this year.
a Google Hangout video preview for the Lakers Clippers game last week with the Clippers fan, and I asked him, would the Clippers have the gall if they win the Pacific Division but they don't win the Western Conference to hang a Pacific Division banner next to a Los Angeles Kings NHL Stanley Cup banner and 16 Lakers championships? Would they raise a Pacific Division banner? And he said no, which is surprising because I feel like the Clippers are a classless
Sterling would
organization.
want it.
Sterling would want it, but I don't think
Raise
the
it up.
organization would allow it. The Clippers rant. All right, I'm actually going to target. Let me take a drink here, and I'll get back to you.
Wow.
It's been a long week, guys. So the problem I have with the Clippers, the biggest problem, is obviously starts with Donald Sterling. Because Donald Sterling, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, is the worst owner in professional sports.
He's the worst human in professional
I'd
sports.
say
Right.
that's a fact.
That's a fact. The fact or fiction, Donald Sterling is the worst human in
Fact.
professional sports.
Yeah.
My problem is that since 1984, I believe, is when he owned the team. So it's been 28 years he's owned the Clippers. It's one thing if your team is bad. The Kansas City Royals, I believe, have not made the playoffs since 1985 or something like that. It's one thing if your team is bad. It's another thing if your team is bad and is so bad that 2012, which is 28 years after you've owned the team, is the first time you could ever possibly say the Los Angeles Clippers are the best team in the NBA. In every other franchise's history, there's not one other franchise besides the Charlotte Bobcats, who are only 8 years old or whatever. There's not one other franchise in the league which you couldn't say at one time were one of the top 3 best teams in the league. Even the New Orleans Hornets were one of the best teams in the league at some point.
Timberwolves.
The Clippers have never. That's not true. The
I
Timberwolves
said
won
Timberwolves
the.
in
Yeah,
the Garnett
exactly.
years. I meant that you could say it.
The Clippers have never been one of the top 3 best teams in the league ever in their entire history. That's just forever. That's just one part of like how inferior they've been. They've been poorly managed, penny pinched in every single way. Sterling has not matched contracts for guys that he needed to match, and year after year, players come and players go. And Donald Sterling, it's gone past the point where fans are disappointed because the owner is not putting the best possible product on the floor. Every year there's the promise that next year is going to be a better year. Next year is never a better year except for 2011 when they got Chris Paul on a fraudulent deal. Point is that Donald Sterling, it goes beyond the fact that he's a bad person. Talk about who did you guys bring up earlier? Who you didn't? James Dolan. James Dolan is
that guy.
James Dolan is a bad owner, but he's not a bad person.
Straight shot.
Donald Sterling has been
Could
sued.
be a bad person.
He
He
could
may
be.
venture into bad
but he's
person
never been
territory
sued
every now
for
and then.
racial discrimination on a housing project he owns.
He was sued on sexual discrimination and had to pay out $12 million.
I'm okay with him playing a little bit of grab ass when Donald Sterling is trying to force out colored people from his housing units.
Stephon Marbury had sex with an MSG intern in a Cadillac Escalade.
That's just good for him.
Get in
I
the
can't
get
do
in
that.
the Escalade.
Anyway, the point is that Donald Sterling is already a bad person, and he's mismanaging this franchise to the point where every year people are investing money in this, and he's giving them a fraudulent product. He's deceiving business owners. This guy should have a grade F on the Better Business Bureau because year after year, he keeps on putting out a crappy product, and people keep on buying it. Now, that's not all Donald Sterling's fault, which is why I hate Clippers fans. Because Clippers fans enable this fraudulent piece of crap to keep on owning an NBA team, whereas guys like Frank McCourt are run out of the league because they're cheap pieces of crap. And George Shinn, who was the former owner of the New Orleans Hornets, was run out of the league because he was a cheap piece of crap. Donald Sterling is the cheapest piece of crap in any Northern American sports institution
He's also
in
the crappiest
this
piece of
country's
crap.
history, or in the two countries' history. And the Clippers fans enable him to keep on reigning because they give him money. At the end of the day, I don't respect Clippers fans because year after year they've kept on supporting a team that has given them nothing but heartache. This year exempt, obviously. I don't respect Donald Sterling for obvious reasons, but it pisses me off that the Clippers fans have stayed there for 30 years in some cases. How can you conscionably support a team that doesn't? How can you respect a team that doesn't respect you as a consumer? How can you continue to do this?
Christian and I ask ourselves that fairly regularly.
But the Knicks, okay, in fairness, the Knicks have been to the finals twice in the last 40 years. The Knicks have had
there
great
has been
players.
a decade of feeling like I, the fan, don't care or don't matter
Right.
to the Knicks.
Think about 28 years of that.
Yeah.
Think about 3 decades of that. And it pisses me off that people are happy for them, but there would be nothing. I don't have a problem with Chris Paul winning a title. I really don't. I like Chris Paul. I think he's the second best player, third best player in the league. I don't have a problem with Grant Hill winning a title. I don't have a problem with Jamal Crawford winning a title. I have a problem with Donald Sterling giving that trophy to that slimy piece of shit. Sorry to curse on the PODBINO, but I have a real problem with it.
Stern giving.
Stern giving it to Sterling. Excuse me. I have a real problem with that.
Yeah.
And I think it's ridiculous that people. I can understand being happy for this team because they've been down in the dumps so long, but I can't imagine possibly supporting a team that is owned by not just a bad owner but a bad person. And I think that it's unconscionable for Clippers fans to remain Clippers fans. This guy should have been run away to Anaheim or Sacramento or somewhere years and years ago.
This PODBINO took like a
hard
serious
hitting.
turn.
I'm angry.
This is like
and probably will be drunk.
kept trying to like infuse some jokes, but
Wow.
it was not.
I'm mad.
It was not a joke.
I'm not happy right now. The Lakers just
But-
lost by 3 points. I'm just they're 15-20 when they're supposed to win a title this year. I'm not happy.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's almost baseball season, right? The Dodgers are
Zach
gonna be great.
Greinke.
Zach Greinke? The Korean dude?
You know, it's fine. I mean, you know, fans get to that point. It's funny just you being not a Clippers fan to have that kind of rant. I would never care this much about the Nets or anything like that.
And I feel like a lot of Clippers fans are probably just bandwagon jumpers.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully.
You know, I don't think they've always had
That was awesome.
I don't think they've always had such strong presence at Staples. I think that's sort of a new thing, which you better
like
get used to
trendy.
as the Lakers continue to swerve out of control
This is really
in this ill-fated season.
this is
Maybe the
the-
Mayans were predicting the collapse of the Lakers.
Think about it this way. This
And
is one
not
of the 5 worst Los Angeles Lakers seasons of all time.
Oh jeez.
of all time.
Of all time.
An all-timer.
They've been in LA
We going back to the Nick Van Exel years?
since 50 something. It's over 50 years. This is one of the out of the 100%, this is 10%.
Well, boo. Who?
Yeah,
All right.
Too bad, dude.
Like no
Suck it up.
sympathy. No, I don't feel bad at all, especially while Pringles is like marauding down the bench looking for an answer
I don't
and
need
not
your- I
getting
don't
one.
need your
Darius, get in
sympathy.
there and take another corner three.
I don't need your
God
sympathy.
damn it.
I'm-
Come on. Get in there.
But on that, till next time on the PODBINO.
Thanks for listening.